talking about the mumim that can disqualify both man and beast. That is, they're talking about the eye, the four that are in the eye. What is it here? There's where the seventh parak, perhaps? Okay, halacha hey thing vav, a person with a little bit in the eye. I didn't make a note of where we left off. No, here we are. We're up to halacha zayin. The blemishes in the mouth. Okay, and by the way, it's not talking about within the mouth. None of these, I think, are having to do with the teeth. They're talking about the outer. Remember, Kohen could just stand there with his mouth closed. Yeah, we got up to this. I made a note. See, we're picking up on the 14th of Kislev over here. Okay, Shisha Babhe. There's a few blemishes in the mouth. This is the Biat HaMikdash, the 7th parak, the 7th halacha, according to our text over here. There are 7 blemishes that Kohen could have in the mouth that would disqualify him, or also an animal. The animal has this, it would disqualify the animal. So your sheep, look over your sheep well. Mishe nikvas fatho, wafil achaf mehan, a person with a hole through one of his lips, even just one of the lips. And by the way, some people pierce their lips for some reason. You ever see this? People just love to pierce stuff. If a Kohen is foolish enough to get his lip pierced, so he is giving himself a mum. Okay, so that shouldn't be done. Of course, I think that they heal. If you take it out, eventually it'll heal. I hope it won't leave a scar. There's certain piercings, like even the ear. Girls to lose their earrings, it closes up. Okay, so you hope it will close up. Misha nifgamasivato. It has, what is this? It has a pagam in it, just missing a piece of lip. They have an illustration over here. That's a pagam. Okay, thank you, Korain, for showing us a picture of a pagam in the lip. Misha nistagasivato. He has a crack through the lip. Vusha tisadek mizer shela ad shetikalech lishnei rashim. So there's 2 opinions of what it means. Is a crack that starts over here and divides it there. The crack starts in the bottom and divides it. Okay. Some people have chapped lips, by the way, not a full crack, but you've seen it. I remember seeing something that happens in the winter, especially in certain places, dry hands. You just get a crack in the skin, and some people could become really deep and long crack. Imagine that through the lips. So that would be a mum. Okay. Misha etzem lechyo atachton odeif al ha'elyon. His lower jaw is sticking out too far beyond the upper jaw. Normally, the upper jaw is a little bit above the lower jaw. If the teeth come out a little bit too much, like there, that's an overbite. So this would be sort of like an underbite, but a person whose jaw sticks out too much. You've seen some people like that, but these things also exist in animals. Misha piv balu mechamat gufo vriyato. A person whose mouth looks like it's swollen. That's just the way he is. He has some bodily thing. He's got swelling near the mouth. If it's because of some sort of disease that's passing, like they say, you used to think diseases were caused by bad wind, ruach ra'ah, miasmas and things. So it's obvious that there's I don't know, you got the bumps. Remember? I don't know what it is. Something causing a swelling there, stung by bees. So it'll go down eventually. We're talking about someone who is permanently just like swollen there. Mishanital rov hamidaber shelashono. Someone who's missing most of the moving part of his tongue. That's the midaber of the tongue. Okay, missing his tongue, whatever reason. So that's a mum. It could happen to an animal also. 12 mumim in the organs of procreation. Eluhain. Misha nim'ach hagid shelo. Someone whose member has been squished too much. Okay, something happened to it, got crushed. O nichtat. Nichtash l'chatichot ketano. It's been cut into small pieces. Some terrible injury. Okay, yeah, you hope not. It makes me squirm to even have to read these. Oni tak, or it's just been completely, it's been cut off or mostly cut off, even if there's still a little bit left. They're mentioned the Gemara there. I remember reading about this. You don't want to know. It's also, what is it, in Yavamis, they talk about different things that could happen, chas v'sholom. Okay, so who's this happened to? In our days, most unfortunately happened to veterans. People in actual combat get shot there. The odds of actually getting shot in some place is very low because it's very, the odds if you're going to get shot by a bullet, it's probably going to be in your torso because that's most of your body. But it could happen, and then you run into these problems. And nichrat means completely cut off. Someone whose testicles are crushed, or just one of them. The testicles in Hebrew, by the way, it's another word. It's not a beitzah. It's called an eshech. Okay. No, sorry. An eshech. Okay. Well.
Why?
That's just the biblical word. Aleph shin kaf. Meroach ashech. Okay. So, and I think that's a modern Hebrew word also. They use ashachim now to refer to the testicles. Yeah, but it occurs once in the Torah, I think. Merach ashech. It's at the end of a sentence, so it's said with the comments, but it's with the segel. Okay. Next, o nichtatu o achat mehem. Nichtatu in this case means also they're whatever. They've gotten cuts into them, badly injured. They're just one of them. O shenitaku o achat mehem. They're detached. They might be still hanging by a thread or detached. I heard of an unfortunate situation, person who had testicular cancer. So it's the one way to survive, if it's really bad, they can't treat it, is complete removal. So he'll be a eunuch from now on, but at least he'll be alive. And for most things, except for his, obviously, his procreation, his sex life, that will be destroyed, but he could take hormones to replace the things. He could still grow a beard and think normally by hormone replacement, but still, this is a unfortunate thing. It does happen to some people. Next, Misha Einlo Ela Beitzachat Afal Pisha Yishlo Shnei Kisin. He has room for two, but he only has one testicle. This happens also sometimes only one drops. For whatever reason, some people have been born like this. There's they live perfectly healthy lives. They only need one to get along, but it happens. Misha Shnei Beitzav Bechis Echad. Okay, both testicles happen to be in one part of the pouch. That could also happen. Tumtum. We said a tumtum is a person of indeterminate sex. You can't tell because there's a malformation of the genitalia there, or it's covered over. Tumtum can be caused by all sorts of genetic deformities, or even things that aren't genetic in utero. And the androgynous. Androgynous, we said, was a hermaphrodite. He's a both, basically. Many androgynuses, they could live life as men. Yeah, if they have a genetic problem, they will not be normal, and their urges might not be normal. I've never met an androgynous. Have you guys ever heard of it? Apparently, it does happen at a certain percentage of the population. So if you have such a Kohen, androgynous and tumtum are grammatically referred to as male. Remember, in Hebrew, there's no gender neutral grammatical form. Even God is referred to as male. It's not because God's more male than female. It's that grammatically everything has to fall into this category. So even if referred to as tumtum and androgynous with pronouns like who and oto and things like that, it's only as a grammatical thing, but they're considered their own categories. Shisha be'adayim uvra raglayim. You have here in Makbili, it says, here in the Koran it says uv raglayim, in legs, instead of ba raglayim with the kamatz, meaning the definite article. But I think in Makbili you guys have ba raglayim uvayadayim. They switched the order and they put a definite article beforehand. I don't know what the Rambam wrote. Ve'eluheim ha piseach. What's a piseach? A person who's limping. He has a leg problem. He's limping. A person with dislocated hip, and he's called sarua in the Torah. He's not dislocated, he's not limping, but still one of his hips or like thigh bone you see is higher than the other. Person with a broken arm bone, and it has to be seen from the outside. Sometimes you actually could see that. Remember, setting bones in place. As long as people didn't have a compound fracture, that means when the bone actually comes out, and even sometimes those, people knew about people getting cracked bones. You could feel it, like someone cracked his arm over here, could actually like rub your arm, like it would be in pain. And you could put a stick there and tie it up really good and rudimentary cast. And if he's young enough, it'll even heal. Healing broken bones is something they could do in the olden days. But if they didn't have x-rays, of course, but they could be really sensitive and feel it and try to set it into the right place. They used to do this for babies also. And sometimes it doesn't heal so well. You can see that this guy has a broken arm still. It never healed. And you can see it in the skin. It doesn't look right. So that's the type of mum that goes there. Thank God, many children have broken their arms and they have a complete recovery. They wear a cast as a 6-year-old and then they're fine the rest of their lives. That's not a mum because it healed and it's not recognizable from the outside. Next. Okay. Misha Nishbar Etzem Raglo, Bahushia Nikar. Or he has a broken leg bone somewhere. There's a few bones in the leg. So once again, one of these types of things. Even when he's just standing, it can't be told that he has this. By the way, we're assuming he's standing without clothes, so you could actually see this. All these things have to be, how are you supposed to, do they actually have the Kohanim drop their pants and check all the category that we saw just now? Maybe Kohanim could get away with this because who's looking, No, the answer is Kohanim have to have, let's say, the doctor has to check all of them, turn and cough. So it says here that it's only when he's walking that if it shows when he's walking, then it's a mum. Misha raglav mivulamot bechamat atzman uvriatan. Someone with swollen legs, for whatever reason, he has it's chronically swollen, as opposed to mivulamot mechamat ruach in a mum. Some sort of disease is causing the swelling right now, so that's not a mum. And you've seen some people with very swollen legs for whatever reason. I don't know what causes it, but it could happen. Arba'a ruin liot b'chol guf. Now there's 4 blemishes that could be in the entire body. They're not specific to any part of the body. These could show up anywhere. Eluhain, mi sheish bo garav yavesh kol shehu, a dry boil, some sort of big dry boil. V'zeu ha-garav hamur b'Torah, and that's the garav that he mentions. That's the same garav mentioned in the Torah. You guys, a boil can be pretty bad. We're not talking about a pimple. We're talking about a boil. Thank God we don't have these anymore. What causes boils, by the way? An infection just under the skin, usually in a follicle. So we thank God we live in we're much more hygienic. So all sorts of infections that used to exist in the olden days we don't get, and we also have antibiotics. So if people do have some sort of terrible infection, you just have to take a few, whatever it is, penicillin, amoxicillin, and you're done. Thank God for antibiotics. You have a picture of this. Yabolet means a bump on the limb, and there's actually, you can feel there's something bony inside. You see the illustration they put there? Yeah. So that's kind of scary. What's called yabolet in his language, Mishneh language, is called yabelet in the Torah. Someone with an Egyptian chazazith. Why they call it chazazith? Because it's the type of shkin that they actually got. I think Makbili points this out. The plague of shkin that attacked the Egyptians, the biblical plague. Plague number plague number 6, right? Plague number 6 was boils, so that's what it's referring to here. There's different opinions about what it looks like. Dry on the outside and pussy on the inside. Pretty bad. Okay? That's the shkin chazazit mitzrit, called Egyptian because not that it affects the Egyptians more. It's not like the Spanish flu or Montezuma's revenge or China virus. It's causes because biblically it happened to the Egyptians. The chazazit kasha uchura. It's a really difficult one, and it looks ugly. V'zohi yalefet to amura b'Torah. It's the yalefet referred to in Parshas Emor. Kol etzem shabagalui shenechratz bo cheretz harei zemum. A bone whose form is visible from the outside and now has a dent in it. Okay, if you could see, let's say, you guys can see my thumb. My thumb has a bone here, right? Imagine that an indent that was very deep. Okay, it's not bleeding, but you can see I have an indent in this bone, an indentation, a long indentation. So that's a moon. Next, and they said this nechratz bo cheretz, and that's called the charutz. A person who has such a thing is called the charutz. He's also mentioned in the Torah. V'enat tzlaim bichlal atzamot shebaraglav, and the tzlaim, those are the thigh bones, I think. No, sorry, the tzlaim are the ribs. Shebichlal atzamot shebagalui. Okay, those are not the exposed bones. Okay, those are not considered for these this thing. The charutz is the only thing of bones that are showing. Leon, if you can. Oh, Leon's here. Okay, sorry about that. We're very sorry about that. We lost our internet for a while. It's Minho Kochav Yaakov that the internet goes out. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, so we had something before. I don't think we put it on the internet because it doesn't interest enough people. The difference between the Hebrew word selah and selah. Yes, I'm back. Thank you. Thank you all for those who showed concern for us that we got disconnected before. Okay, so let's get into the halachot here. So the ribs aren't like that. Basically, the ribs might be considered in some ways like one big bone, one big flexible bone with ridges between them. So having this indent in the bone shouldn't be one of the things. You guys eat whatever you want, and if you want, you go to the fridge and find more. Did you find these protein bars? By the way, they have all different flavors. Yeah, so. They all taste the same. Yes. So you could take some if you so choose, and look, I find as a yeshiva guy, I think they're kind of good. Okay, back to this. It says here, another 3 blemishes. A mum is just the fact that he's so old that he has the shakes, for whatever reason. Okay? He can't hold it still, and that's happened. Sometimes it's caused by certain diseases. Sometimes the person is just so old that he can't hold anything straight. Or he has some sort of sickness that is giving him the shakes. He has chills from his flu or China virus, whatever it may be. If he's a treifa, he's kosher to serve as a kohen, but he's a pasul behema. How you know he's a behema? You're going to cut open the behema and check the lungs and the intestines and everything. You find what's a treifas. The Rambam defines a treifas as something that would have killed the behema within a year. They could still live for another week or so. So the treifa is a person who they know now has some sort of critical injury, whatever, inside. They know he's a treifa. He's not a goses. He's still up and walking. There was a guy who I remember reading this, a medical doctor, a researcher, who was bitten by a poisonous snake. And he knew he had 24 hours to live. So his last day, he ate like normal and he took notes and all that. He knew he was a goner. He had 24 hours, and then 24 hours came, and then he was dead. And then it kicked in. So he was a treifa, but he was not a goses. He was alive and well that last day. A person born of cesarean section, kasher ba'adam. He could be a kohen, but as a behema, it's a psul in the behema. The Rambam wrote, I showed you guys in the Mishneh Torah. We assume that animals and people can be born by cesarean section. The mother survives. The Rambam knew about animals surviving cesarean section. The Rambam says he heard reports of women surviving cesarean section, but he can't imagine that it's actually true. How could that be? Because the Gemara talks about that it's a last ditch effort to at least save the baby once the mother is dead or dying. But a woman surviving cesarean section, almost an impossibility. Next, hamizoham. This is funny. A guy who's got a major BO problem. He's a stinky. If he smells bad because he just happened to be really sweaty today, he's been working in the sewers for the last week. If he were to take a bath, scrub himself with some bosem, that means good smell, so he could serve. We're talking about a person who's got a permanent smell problem. Okay? The bad roommate. Hayal reach pivra, he's got bad breath. Don't be like this either. Notain befiv pilpel zangvil v'chayotzi bahanvil vape. He puts in a piece of ginger, that's zangvil, or pilpel is pepper. Nowadays we put in some mint chewing gum, and that relieves the bad breath, so he could serve. If he does serve when hasn't brushed his teeth properly, he's a fire-breathing dragon, or he's still really sweaty, to the extent that other people are offended by his smell. He has disgraced, he has desecrated his service, invalidated his service, just like any other of these blemished Kohanim. Okay. Now we're going to get into the mumim that are specific to people. These things don't affect animals. These are more people mumim. This is the 8th parak, by the way. 8th parak, first halacha. The blemishes specific to people. Tish'im, 90 of them. V'zeu praton. Shmona barosh ve'eluhein. 8 of them are within the head. You have some pictures there. I was learning this with the kids. I don't know what's funnier pictures, Makbili or Korean. to illustrate this. A person with the top of his head, the crown of his head is indented as though someone just squished in his head. So here they put the squish down the middle from front to back. And you have more like a crater, like a completely symmetrical circle, the way they have the illustration there, like indented skull. A person who's a cone head or an egg head, it rises to the top. Okay, that's a moon. A person whose forehead, the metzach over here, is sticking out too much. It's bulging, like once again, like Frankenstein's monster in certain things. He's like one of those ever people illustrate this in other ways. Or a person who's too bulgy in the back, bulges out too far in the back over there. A person whose head is bulgy on both sides and on all sides, he basically looks like a turnip head. They show an illustration of what a turnip is. Imagine he's got too big a head in the wrong way. There are people born like this, unfortunately. A person who's completely bald. It's okay for a man to have a little bit of a mature hairline or even be bald. Apparently, it looks more attractive that men are bald, and to other men, it looks like more authoritative or wiser. That's what people associate baldness with. Losing hair is a fact of life for the majority of men at some point or other in their lives. It's not a moon, but being completely bald, like Mr. Cleaner, Lex Luthor, that's a problem. Everybody still has some hair left. If he has that, for example, even the baldest men have some hair that goes from over here. They always have sideburns and a little bit going around the back. They have some on the back of their head and then brings it up to the sideburn. You know anybody who doesn't have that? Even the baldest people have such a thing. That's like the minimum hair that you have. So that's kosher. Next. Misha, what?
He's got hair as that. And then the kosher one is also on top.
Well, so that's the next one we're going to read. Okay? It says here, Misha Sear Makif Ekol Rosh Savid Milfana Me'acharav Ve'ensham Sear Be'emtza Gam Zeh Kereachu Pasul. You see that? Here's the illustration. So this guy, this picture still has a little bit left, like barely anything, going from ear to ear in the back. So that's a kashrus. And this guy with the strange type of hair in front, only a pasta goes in front. No man with male pattern baldness has this. That's what they call male pattern baldness. It starts in two places. The forehead starts to recede. Sometimes there's stuff left in the middle, and it also starts at the crown over here. And sometimes they merge. And whatever, you look at your uncles, you look at your grandpa, you'll see which way you're heading. I still see. I see a picture of my grandfather. I'm wondering, when will my time come? Just keep, God willing, pushes it off. I used to joke. I don't know. I think the way it ended up, I lost the color, but I kept the hair. I said, I think I'm better this way. If the color had stayed up to this point, but it mostly been gone, I think I would have been sadder. Okay. Reminder of halacha: as men, we're not allowed to dye our hair. Okay, Shulchan Aruch rules that way. It's a derech nekeva to do such a thing. So you're stuck with what you have. Most recently, my new American passport came in. Until the age of 40, my hair color was officially listed as brown, and now it's not. So I graduated. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Next, Shnayim batzavar. There's two mumim that can be in the neck. He's got such a short neck or sunken neck, it looks like his head is just sitting on his shoulders. You see an illustration over here? This guy with the sunken neck, okay, compared to all the other Kohanim. His neck is too long, it looks like it's falling out. He's got a giraffe problem. Okay, it looked like someone just pulled his neck out, dislocated it. Arba'a ba'ozen. 4 blemishes in the ear. This is the third halacha. Ve'eluin, misha steos nov kitanot harbe. His ears are unusually small. A guy with micro ears. Misha steos nov nifuchot domot lispog. He has 2 really what do you call it? Inflated or swollen ears. They look like sponges. I told you last week, cauliflower ear. People who are boxers and things like that suffered injuries. They got hit in the ears too much where there's cartilage or in the nose, and then later in life it just becomes permanently extra cartilage. That's what he's referring to here. He has droopy ears, like the song. His ears are so big they're droopy-ish. Okay. Mi she'achat me'oznav mishuneh mechaverta b'mar'eh. One whose ear looks different from the other. That is unsymmetrical ears. They are different from each other. Everybody, no one's perfectly symmetrical in their face. They say what makes people handsome is not objective features, but for men and women, it's symmetry of the face. Okay, so whatever. None of us are going to be objectively handsome. So the symmetry is what matters. And if you have one ear look a little much more different than the other, it's going to be, or look different from the other to this extent, he's going to be a psul. The eyebrow problems. Chamishabak vinim. Vinim are the eyebrows. Ve'elohim. Mi she'en lo se'ar bigvinav v'zeu gibein ha'amur b'Torah. Gibein, the same shorish as vinim, means a person who has no eyebrows. I credit my brother for teaching me this. We have eyebrows. Men just live with their eyebrows. They become bushier as you get older. You could trim them, whatever. Your eyebrows are your eyebrows. It turns out that women, I didn't know this, women, in order to look attractive, basically shave their eyebrows, or no, they remove the natural hair of their eyebrows through waxing or whatever, and then they draw on the eyebrows that they want to look. So obviously men are not allowed to do such a thing. But also if a man removes his eyebrows, then he's already created a psul himself. He has to wait for his eyebrows to grow back. Okay, so each his own. Just know, for men, it's okay to have eyebrows and it's okay to have facial hair. You should be proud of it. Misha Gvinov Shochavin. His eyebrows are so big now that they're like drooping down too much. They're actually getting in his eyes. You've seen people like that. So it's okay. It's mutter for a man if he's old and he has droopy eyebrows to actually trim his eyebrows. There's nothing wrong with that. Misha Ein Lo Ella Gavin Echad. He has but one eyebrow, it means a unibrow. Now we all have a little bit of hair between our eyebrows here. It's not significant, but some people actually do have the unibrow, and they show a picture over here. That's a mum. Misha Echad Migvinav Mishune Mechavero. His eyebrows are different from each other. One has longish hairs and one has short hairs. Or one is black and the other ones are white or red. Remember, they had redheads back in biblical times also. What else? Because there's a difference between these two eyebrows, that's a psul. Okay. Have you ever seen anybody like that? I don't think I've seen it. Next. Eyelash problems. Someone who has no eyebrow hair, eyelash hair. The eyelashes completely fill out. This week's partially say that that's pshat that some bring. Rakot. Pshat in Unkelus means what? What does it mean? Leah had soft eyes. She had nice, pretty eyes. It's a praise of her looks. Just like Rachel was Yafat Torah and Yafat Morat, her older sister had very pretty eyes. Rashi brings a medrash. Okay, that means that her eyelashes fill out from all the crying. Fine. Misha Sa'ar Risainov Mirubeh Mi'ubeh Harbe. A person whose eyelashes very thick, too much eyelash hair. Okay, too much going on there. Next. Misha Sa'ar Echad Merisainov Mishunem Misa'ar Ris Acher. The hair of this eyelash is different from the hair of the other eyelash. Also, never seen this before. One is black, one is white. One is basically weak; it's falling out. There's just a few eyelashes left. The other one is nice and thick. Misha af apav sugurot me'at. Someone whose eyelids, that's the afapayim. When you're sleeping, your eyelids start to creep in on your eyes, and you can't keep them open. So his eyelids are giving him problems here. They're closing in on his eyes. His eyes are not open sufficiently like normal people. Ever seen this happen? I saw there was one older man who eventually got to this point. He could barely open his eyes. Okay. Now the mumin. What?
I know that in Asia they've got two eyelids and it's a bit more closed.
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
So it depends on what extent the sages interpret this. Remember, the sages talk about who was different. You had people from Kush who were very dark, basically Africans, and you had Germanim in Mishneh times. People were extremely light, lavkans, white as a bone. So yeah, you have people like this. I think that it says the Talmudim. Who was it that the fellow who wanted to see if he could tick off Hillel? Hillel was incredibly patient, so they're bothering him on Erev Shabbos. He was busy, trying to get to the bathhouse, just trying to do whatever they can to upset Hillel. And Hillel says, You could try as hard as you may, but Hill is not going to lose his patience. And he asked him, why do the people in this country have flat feet? Why do these people have slanty eyes, etc.? So maybe Chazal would consider that a mum, because the Jewish people, especially the ones, you could be a convert to Judaism, you're fine. But priests have to be descendants of Aaron, have a certain look to them. They're not that dark. We're going to see, by the way, a person who's too black or white or red is disqualified from being a Kohen. Okay? So it's actually, a Kohen has to look and idealized Jewishly. If he can't grow a beard, let's say, they wouldn't consider that, that's genetic. There's certain places where they don't have much facial hair. For us, that'd be bad. So Kohanim at least have to have the certain Aaronite look to them. Yeah. We don't want to say anything racist. A person whose eyes are too high in his head. You have the illustration there, you see that. We're used to looking at people, we have a natural idea of where people's eyes belong. Someone's eyes are just too high, you'd notice it. Okay, his two eyes are below where they should be. Right? Next. They're too round. Where do you see this? People with two round eyes? Most of our eyes are actually quite elongated. We think that there's some people have more elongated eyes, but just talking about like super round eyes. I noticed this. You mentioned the Far East. You ever notice this? I remember when I was a kid. You see comic books and cartoons from Japan, and all their characters have super big round eyes. So they're trying to compensate or something. I don't know, but why is that? Okay, I've never seen it, but that's what they're talking about here. Of course, you only see cartoon characters are like this. If you actually have a person like that, that'd be a moon. A person with cheetah-like eyes, he looks like he's constantly angry. A person who looks, it says that you could see daggers in his eyes. That's temporary. He's really, really angry, and he's looking at the object of his anger. If a person is permanently like that, then that is a moon. And by the way, I've seen people like this. This is one of the moon I've actually seen. You see the illustrations here. Koren has a much more entertaining illustration of a person with weird eyes. Person looks permanently angry. You see that? What they show in that picture? Also, they do more of the animalistic look. But either way, yeah, I've seen people like that. My father pointed out to me once there was a guy like that he saw. Okay. He just has really big eyes, not necessarily round, they're the right size. You ever see a cow, okay, a young cow, their eyes are huge. Okay. A person whose eyes are as small as, let's say, a duck. Ducks have small eyes. Yeah, notice that they show illustrations there. A person whose eyes are always tearing. It just constantly has a discharge from his eyes. He's got some sort of discharge coming out from this side over here or this side over there, and it's like always there. Okay, so some people have a discharge from their eye when they have an infection. It happens also to the children, just as an allergic reaction. I've seen this in two of my own children. It lasts for 2 days. The kid goes to nursery, so he comes back with some sort of infection, the seasonal infection. But if a Kohen has such a thing, it's a mum. A person who's squinty, he goes into the light, he's too squinty, more than other people. But when he's trying to see something, he's really reading, so he squints when he reads. So I remember this. Rabbi Raz was the rabbi in Tel Zion. He was a posek, and he used to see Marez. Marez is when the woman brings the cloth to see is this a blood stain or not. So I went to him to see how he does what he does, and he asked me to look at something. He says, "Look closely at this. What do you see?" So I lifted up my glasses and I was looking, but I wasn't squinting. I just wanted to get a closer look. And then he noticed something. He says, "You only look with your right eye when you're looking really closely at something." He eventually said, "You only use your right eye up close." I didn't know it about myself. He told this to me must have been 13 years ago. He said this about me, pointing this out. So some people, when they really need to look, they are starting to squint. Squinting when you shouldn't be squinting is a moon. Imagine that. So they have to check the Kohen. They bring him out into the sunlight. If he's suddenly squinting, do you walk outside squint most days? No, man, really squinting. Do you see a person walking around outside like this with a real squint? No, not so much. So they have their threshold. Person with astigmatism. It's all so blurry. Astigmatism means that things should be where they should be. He's looking at a building. Imagine a building, you can see the cross sections. He's astigmatized, I guess, in this direction, such that the upper floor and the lower floor are sort of overlapping. Not gonna happen. It could be also sideways, like the right room and the left room are so squished together. How do you know this? Because when he speaks to his friend, he's looking him in the eye and trying to talk to him, but now he looks like it's someone else. He's got a lazy eye or he's cross-eyed in some way. That's how you could actually tell this. There's talking about problems with the eye. So what about glasses? Let's say glasses help the person. Is that still a mum? Does a Kohen get to wear glasses? Is it considered beged yeter? We say on Shabbos, everybody's been asking about people want to be more machmir for carrying outside on Shabbos. So you're not supposed to carry, assuming you have a public domain and they haven't enclosed that properly. In Jerusalem, have you guys carry in Jerusalem at all? In the old city, they broke down the walls, but here in Kochav Yaakov, we actually have a fence. A lot of places where they don't have an actual wall or fence around the town, so it's very hard to say you could build an eruv there, what they call an eruv, right? So people want to be machmir for not carrying. By what rights do we have wearing glasses? So you could say you're wearing it; it's clothing. On Shabbos, if you're wearing something, you could walk around in Rosh Hashanah with it. It's your clothing. You could walk around with tefillin technically on Shabbos. You're wearing the tefillin. You could wear a watch because it looks nice. It's an ornament, just like your tie. You can't carry a key because that you're carrying. So you're telling me you're wearing glasses. That's our excuse for wearing glasses, walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, where there's no eruv. Maybe there is now. A place where there shouldn't be an eruv, l'chol hadeos. Okay? It's 100% Rosh Hashanah according to everybody. You cannot carry there on Shabbos. Can a Jew wear his glasses like he wears his talis? Yeah, we say you can wear glasses. If you're wearing glasses, then a Kohen should not be wearing glasses when he's serving the temple, because we saw what? A Kohen's not allowed to wear any more than the 4 garments when he serves in the temple. So if you tell me that he can cure his eye problem, his astigmatism, his cross-eyed, whatever it is, he's seeing what he shouldn't see by his glasses, he doesn't get to have them when he's a Kohen anyway, so it's the question is over. He shouldn't be wearing them. This is all pilpul. I do not know what a Sanhedrin will decide. We assume many of us are wearing glasses right at this moment, and it's almost second nature. We don't even think about what the halachic issues of wearing glasses are because they've already been decided. But I think the common practices, and even where places where people cannot carry beyond indoors on Shabbos, people do wear glasses outdoors, right? You'll correct me if I'm wrong, but does Rabbi Bar-Hayim speak about this at all? I know that he's machmir for Eruvin. I know we had our Rabbi Soloveitchik was very machmir. He didn't carry in Queens, but he did wear glasses. And I saw him walking outside without glasses. He didn't carry his talis. He never carried outside, but he did wear his glasses. So, okay. That we assume you're wearing glasses, which makes a problem for Kohanim. Next. One eye is different from the other. Whether it's exact placement on the face or in how it appears, like the color. One eye is black or brownish. In other words, patuch. What's patuch? That's a way of saying, I think, bluish. He's got one bluish eye and one brownish eye, basically. Or maybe patuch is just a lighter color. Okay, some say just lighter. Okay, the Rambam uses this word patuch when describing what? By the way, elsewhere, describing the color tcheles. Okay, he uses this the net masculine forms. That's why maybe it's bluish, but either way, it's a lighter color. Usually, eyes that are lighter than brown are greenish or bluish, whatever it is. One is bigger, one is smaller. Those are problems. Being one of them being different from the other, that's a psul. So you can have a person who's heterochromatic. Heterochromatic means 2 different eye colors, possible from being a kohen. Shishaba chotem, 6 in the nose. Chotem isn't just the nose. Af refers to the nose and its function of smelling, and chotem is the outer form of the nose, the bridge. Mi sheikar chotmo shokea, afal pishino kochel shteinav kachat. V'zeu charum hamur batorah. There's a person who has it's so indented over here, the bridge of the nose here between the eyes. He's the one who's called harum. Harum is literally someone that this is so flattened that he actually, they say the extreme case is that he could put eyeliner in one swipe. He's going across this way, and he just goes straight across the other eye without having to go up because it's so flattened here. That's an extreme case. Even just more indented than others is already a mum. And by the way, the verb used to put the eyeshadow on the eyelid is called kochel. Why? Because the stuff that they used to put on their eyes is kahol. It's a substance. And kahol is usually blue. That's why the modern Hebrew word for blue is kahol. Okay? Is assume that all these things were bluish. Mi she'emtza chotmo boleit milamala. A person, the middle of the bridge of his nose sticks out too much. There's a bump over here. Imagine over here, just like going down normally, and then a bump. Mi she'oketz chotmo notef lamata. The tip of the nose bends over. Too much of a hook nose. Okay, it actually hooks down. That's a mum. Do you guys have an illustration here showing what this one is? The emsam chotmo boleit. They show it here. They show the different places. Here, aleph, it's where it's shrunken. Bet is where it's sticking out too much, and gimel is if the tip were hanging out. Okay. Some people have a hook nose. It's just an optical illusion. It's just it's a curve to it. Over here, it curves out too much, so it looks like that. But most people's noses comes to an end over here. Very few people actually have a little more of a dip that's actually at the tip. Okay, but it happens to some people. Misha chotmo akom litzad echad. His nose is bent to one side. That could be caused by a dislocated sternum. The sternum, there's a sternum of the ribs, and then there's the sternum of the nose. So it could be dislocated, and the nose is hanging a little bit to one side. It's an unsymmetry of the nose. And actually, you've seen people also, they could suffer an injury that causes this. Misha chotmo godol me'evarav. His nose is bigger than his limbs. What does that mean? It's unproportionally big. Most people have a certain proportion or within a range of certain proportions, their limbs, their eyes, their head. Imagine if we were used to, for example, babies having different proportions. How much of a baby's height, or even a 3-year-old, how much of his height is in his head? If you were to, let's say, photographically on the computer, put a baby, extend the baby, or the 6-year-old even, and put on the computer next to an adult and compare them, you see that this 6-year-old has a huge head. But we're used to 6-year-olds having relatively big head because the 6-year-olds are also 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall. So you're saying someone here has an unusually large nose. Okay, so Chazal would make the decision. Remember, we said last week and the week before that, what was the main job of the Sanhedrin? Yeah, to judge these matters. See, is this guy's nose too big? Next. Misha chotmo katon me'evarav. His nose is unproportionally small compared to everything else. How do you know? Take his pinky. Okay, the small finger of his pinky. Measure your pinky to like this. They used to say, how do you know you're stupid? You tell them, put your hands up against your face, and then you hit your friend. But in this case, the Rambam's actually describing this. Take your pinky and put it up against your nose. That should be the normal proportion. I think Da Vinci and the Greeks who came before him basically studied the golden proportions and ratios that the ideal human body has. Remember those illustrations? And Chazal found that you could actually set your watch to this because that's where the Amma and all these other Zaret and Cubit, etc., come from, and the foot. Why? Because people have certain proportions to them. A man's span is usually equivalent to his height, etc. So you could check these things. People who are not proportional have a problem. I remember there was a guy in yeshiva, came from Florida. This is almost 20 years ago. Said he got to meet Shaq. Baruch Hashem. I got to meet a few Admorim. We met with the Stoner Rebbe and the Square Rebbe. Okay. And we got to meet the chief rabbi before he passed away. But he got to meet this basketball fellow. And he said the amazing thing was, even though he's 7'1", he was proportional. A lot of these basketball people, they look unproportional. Sometimes it's not right that their legs and arms are too big. It doesn't look natural. But he looked just like a fully just enlarged man. He didn't look unproportional like the rest of them because he was apparently that was if you call this a gift, God gave him a real physical gift in this respect that he was highly proportional despite the fact that he was unusually tall. He's still unusually tall. Next, we'll finish with this. The blemishes in the lips. His upper lip is jutting over his lower lip. Okay, unusually large upper lip. The lower lip, much more than the upper lip. Misha piv rafui, where he row yored mi piv. His mouth is weak, so the drool is always coming out. Basically, he drools because he can't hold his own mouth closed. Those are mumim in the mouth. We'll see this more elsewhere. God should bless us that we have the restoration of the temple service speedily, and that none of these blemishes be found in the seed of Aaron. Amen. See you next week.
Question.
Oh, question. We have a question.
If somebody's hair is beginning to get white and their eyebrows are also starting to whiten, how different does one eyebrow have to be from the other eyebrow for it to be a moon? Like if he has a few more white hairs here than in the other one?
I guess something noticeable, but the Sanhedrin will make that decision.
Okay.
I think that, thank God, the way it works, I've seen this with people who are losing their hair color, it's pretty well distributed, you know? I've never seen a man, like sometimes you have this in the beard, sometimes you just get a patch of white developing in one place and just gets bigger and bigger, but it doesn't happen with the eyebrows. The white hairs is like the mustache. White hair pops up here and there, one at a time, like one every week, basically. So it's pretty symmetrical. You don't have it that one eyebrow gets whiter faster than the other. Let's hope not, at least. Okay, I hope that answers the questions, and we'll call it a day. Be well, guys.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.